7 deadly sins. I know I'm not talking about the anime series. If you say that you haven't committed these sins, then you're lying. That in itself is a sin. It may not be a deadly sin, but it's still a sin. A sin is a sin. That's why it's important to pray regularly for forgiveness of your sins. You commit sins without knowing and with knowing. The reason why it's even deadly in the first place is because it can have massive consequences on yourself and everybody around you. That in itself can be deadly because it can even cause somebody to die as well if you're not careful. Today I'm going to be going through the 7 deadly sins and how to overcome them. It's good to be confident in what you're doing. When you're too confident, that's when it becomes pride, that's when it becomes arrogance. It stops you from being able to learn. This one's basically the opposite to humility. A lot of people think that showing humility is a bad thing because it shows that you're weak. But in fact, it actually shows that you're strong. You're able to humble yourself and allow yourself to learn more. A lot of people have died due to a ruler's pride. There are so many stories written about this particular sin in the Bible, from the Old Testament to the New Testament. The best way to overcome it is through prayer. Whenever you get a thought in your head that you're being overly confident, pray to God and allow Him to humble you, allow Him to soften your heart so you don't harden your heart to the point where you don't even listen to anybody around you. Also, just take time to be patient as well and understand what is happening around you. This is for the F-boys especially, fam. The F-boys are too greedy. Essentially, you just want too much of something. It doesn't necessarily even have to be food. A lot of the times, people associate greed with food. Not all the time though, but a lot of the time. It's not even just about food. It could be material items like wanting too much money, wanting people to pay too much attention to you. Like, you don't know how to have things in a sensible amount. That's essentially what greed is all about. Me, myself, sometimes I even catch myself wanting too much of something. I have to stop myself and think, do I really need this thing? That's the best way to handle a deadly sin such as greed. Obviously, it's nice to get things, but not in an excessive amount. Having too much of something is just gonna lead to your own downfall. Too much of everything makes you sick. There was a parable that Jesus was talking about where somebody wanted to go and follow him, but he told them in order to follow him, he has to give up every single thing that he has. All the material stuff he had to give up in order to follow Jesus, and he was reluctant to do so, and he couldn't follow him because of that. That's just greed overtaking him. Instead of him being able to give up the stuff that he had and follow Jesus, he wasn't able to do that, and that causes his downfall. That's why all of these sins are deadly. It can cause somebody to fall. Even Jesus said that it is easier for a camel to go through the head of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. A camel doesn't have much. They don't need much in order to survive. Just like us humans, we don't necessarily need much to survive. We just make it seem like we need a lot because that's what society has told us. The smallest things should be able to make us happy. Another way to overcome this is just to be able to share the things that you have. If you see that you have too much of something, share it with someone else that is in need of it as well. Not only is this good in the eyes of the Lord, it's also gonna help you become a more likable person with everyone else around you. Instead of wanting an excess of material items and possessions, this has more to do with like overeating. There are countless times where gluttony is not a good thing. Look at my 600-pound life, for example. They're overeating all the time. They can't move, they can't see certain family members, they can't go to certain places, all because of gluttony. Gluttony is again another downfall to their life. It doesn't only apply to eating, it also applies to drinking as well. Excessive drinking isn't good. It makes you drunk, and drunkenness is even a sin too. I forgot to even say it. These sins are also deadly, not only because it leads to people's downfall, but also because it leads to you committing even more sins. The best way to even overcome gluttony is just to eat as much as you actually need. Go on a diet plan, see what is good for your body, what is not good for your body, and just focus on that. This is one of the hardest ones for both males and females. Lust is not shy. The thing is, it starts off with your eyes as well. That's why you need to watch what you see. Sometimes you're in a situation where you're just outside in the public and you see somebody dressing provocatively. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're thinking of them in a lustful way, but when you start thinking of them in a lustful way, you start imagining all these sexual things. That's when it becomes lust. On top of that as well, when you act out on it, it's even worse. It's not a good thing for your morale and your mental health. This is even a sin that God tells us to flee from. If you just stay there, it's gonna consume you. The best way to overcome this kind of sin is to pray about it. If you still feel like it's not working, continue to pray. You don't just pray once and expect it to go away. You have to continue doing it, because the more you pray about it, the more it will go away, and the more you wouldn't have the temptation for it. Even talk to people about it as well. There's a lot of people that are going through the same thing as you. Some people have been able to give it up, and just talk to them about how they've given it up as well. Think about it practically as well, not just pray. Faith without works is dead. That's just a meaningless prayer if you don't put any action into it. I'll be lying to say that anger has not consumed me before. because it hurts. Anger's a very bad sin. It's similar to lust because you're not thinking straight. You've let your emotions get the better of you. You end up doing irrational things, you end up saying irrational stuff. There are times where you're frustrated with things. That's just human nature. To act out on that frustration is when it's a very bad thing. The thing is, anger doesn't last long as well. You let all of that out and you just realize, oh, what have I done? You can't necessarily go back and apologize to the people just like that after it's happened. They'll probably only accept it just because they want things to be peaceful, but deep down they still feel annoyed at the fact that you've said all of these hurtful things to them. The best way to deal with this is if someone has done something wrong and it annoys you, then just go out and take a walk, leave the situation, calm yourself down, be patient with them as well, because again, we all mess up. It's not fair for you to just be shouting at somebody just because they made one mistake. God forgives you multiple times on the mistakes that you made, whether you know it or not. So why can't you not forgive that other person as well? You're not a perfect person, so you should find it within yourself to forgive others. And don't be vengeful either. Vengeance leads to anger as well. You're just thinking of ways to get back at the person. All that's gonna do is just hurt yourself. There are countless stories of where like people have had their close one being murdered by someone, then they try and get vengeance and do the same thing back. They do that and they don't even feel better about it. That's not going to change what has happened in the past already. The best way to even deal with that is like understand that sometimes these things happen for a reason and that there's nothing that you could have done in that moment in time. Too many guys that are lazy, they don't want to do anything. It's even a sin. You're not allowing yourself to reach a potential that you could possibly reach. You should do stuff consistently. That's what will change you. You can't just expect to do it once and then everything will just be all good. Set goals for yourself. That's what will make you less lazy. You realize that all this work that you're doing, that it has an end result, it has an end goal, and you'll be able to achieve it easily because of that. You'll be able to achieve a lot of things with just this mindset. The people that you hang out with plays a massive factor as to how you behave as a person. If you hang out with cocky, arrogant people, then it's going to make you commit the sin of pride. If you hang out with people that always like to buy bare stuff, like to have the newest clothes, newest cars, the newest whips, everything like brand new all the time, and you have too much of it already, it's going to make you greedy and it's going to make you want more as well. If you hang out with guys that just like to bash all day and over-sexualize every person that they see, that's going to make you commit lust as well. If you see your guys talking about what other people have rather than talking about what they have, then that's you committing the sin of envy as well.